Shoot, we're on. What's up, guys? As Justin, are you on Tinder?
Yeah. Well, I was just trying to, make sure I wasn't getting catfished. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, I'll put it away. But this one, you got to check this one.
So is that like
She's a dude.
That's a
it's a dude. Hey, no, but seriously,
I want to see baby
you hooked up with
pictures.
anybody?
No, the wedding's off. It's a dude.
Have you hooked up with anybody there?
No, actually, I've tried, and I think maybe because I end up them feeling like I'm a serial killer. Maybe, I don't know. I'm just not good at it. It's past, I'm a little too old for, I guess the way that it's designed or something.
Yeah.
I got to get some better bathroom shots and little bunny shots with my little bunny ears.
Some
yeah,
filters.
it's like they got these little
Filters.
bunny
What you gotta
noses.
do, bro?
What?
Do some shots with your gi on.
Oh yeah,
Rolling.
no, that's
Rolling.
coming. I got me paddling and shit.
Whoa, there we
I'm
go.
like all sucked in and like, oh yeah, I own a boat. It's a one man.
Oh shit! What's up, guys?
Yeah, what's up?
What's
Hey,
up?
welcome
There we
aboard.
go.
It's JitzOphrenia,
Sorry,
the
I
Hawaii
forgot.
BJJ lifestyle show. I'm Jaz Kaiwiko'o, my man
What's
Jonny
up, Jaz?
Varron.
Yo, change.
Chewy the white belts in the house.
Yeah, buddy.
All right, so today, what was he talking about today?
Oh, we're talking about you, man.
That's right.
So many people want to know. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even know. And I've known you for like at least 10 years or something, 12 years.
Yeah.
And I don't know much.
What's funny is that you've there's some people that I run into or that I meet later in
We're
life
good friends.
and that say, "Oh, I remember watching you wrestle."
Yeah.
And
yes,
that's usually
yes.
the funniest because
Yes.
it's like I wasn't on TV a whole bunch of times or anything.
No, but that's the legend you
so
have to answer.
you have to be in some pretty weird places to have seen me live.
Yeah,
The
right.
peop-
No, but you
the
did.
people wanna
you did
know the
some
secret
WWF
origin.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want to know the secret origin of jazz.
Yeah.
Well, let me see. So I'm
What's he got?
about 50.
Yeah. When did it start?
What's that?
When did it start?
Well, 79. 79.
So
Actually-
we don't do math good.
Yeah.
You are 50
I'm
and
about to be 50. I turned
Oh,
50. in
congratulations.
February.
Hey,
So,
happy birthday.
so what,
Happy
what,
birthday.
what started your interest? Was there like a Bruce Lee movie that came
So,
on?
Yeah,
Like
that
so
was-
this is
that's
what's
a good
funny.
question.
So not Bruce Lee,
Yeah.
like everybody else would think, right?
Oh.
Van Damme.
So no,
Wow.
I was Sonny Chiba.
Oh, Sonny, yeah.
Street
He was
Fighter.
bad. He was bad.
So my mom and dad
bad.
divorced when I was 2, and then my dad, when he would do his weekend thing, would take me to this movie theater called, I think it was York, which was in San Francisco Mission District. And so I was about 2 years old, picked me up, and that was the weekly thing. I go to the movies. And he started taking me first to Bruce Lee movies. So I remember saying, like Way of the Dragon,
Yeah.
whatever
Yeah.
the different names they have for them. And then, but I liked it, but who caught my attention was when I saw Street Fighter.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Dude, no.
But, oh, okay.
But Street Fighter was
Yeah.
was because,
Bad.
the dude's wearing all black.
Oh, yeah.
He's the bad guy.
He did one of the Butcher or something or
so
whatever.
you
That
were
was sick,
naturally, you always liked the bad guy, not always like the
Yeah.
super good
Yeah,
guy. the
natural heel.
the heel. The
Natural heel,
character.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And then that did spark my interest in martial arts. My mom was somewhat a single mom, saw my dad on the weekends, whatnot. But my mom was kind of single mom, and so she was going to college and working at the same time. So I remember my mom using a lot of outlets for me to have a babysitter. So like I remember going to like doing a lot of traveling on the bus by myself.
Wow.
Uni. It was probably illegal.
Yeah.
'Cause, I
Yeah.
probably 7 maybe.
Oh, yeah, a little
6, 7 on a muni bus by myself
Yeah.
and transfer.
Someone probably thought
Going
you were
to
with someone else.
the YMCA,
Maybe, yeah.
taking judo over here, which was my first art, and then I remember a cooking class, which is why I can bang on the stove. With a cooking class.
Oh.
Bang on this
uh, Got involved with music
Bang
early. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As you can see, we're in my recording studio. So, but yeah, 79. I started off with judo, and then I eventually worked my way into Kodokan Jiu-Jitsu. So, and which is for some of you out there, especially from Hawaii, Kodokan's I like to call it OG Jiu-Jitsu, Japanese traditional Jiu-Jitsu. But the main style that kind of my generation comes from is a style called Danzan Ryu Jiu-Jitsu, which was created by Henry Okazaki, and he was a resident of Hilo at the time.
Wow.
And so it was created in Hilo, or at least the style was Danzan Ryu, and he was one of the first non-Hawaiians to cross-train in Lua. There's a whole story that we can go into.
Whoa.
Yeah,
Or
we
you guys
should
can look
go
up
into-
Uncle Jerry
Hey,
Walker
yeah.
on Facebook, and he has a lot of information on that whole story. But
Jerry Walker.
so in that jujitsu, Danzanryo Kodokan Jiu-Jitsu, is the first jujitsu with strikes in it.
Oh.
And a lot of the strikes come from the Lua art, which are very brutal strikes.
Yes.
Not so,
Death strikes.
Yeah.
very brutal Polynesian,
Like
Hawaiian,
bone-breaking.
bone
Yeah.
breaking, things like
Bone-breaking,
that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I think I was in 7th grade. I got introduced to wrestling, into regular high school wrestling, school wrestling.
And
I
this
was
is
in
all
7th
before
grade.
the UFC came out, right?
Oh yeah, this. So if I'm in 7th
UFC was
grade,
93.
God, what is 7th grade,
Oh,
man?
you're like 86.
80, no, 86. I was
Oh.
16.
Yeah, there you go.
So, but 7th
Wow,
grade. So
70.
yeah, whatever age that is. My
Holy
math is
Lord.
bad.
Yeah,
But 7th grade, junior high school.
yeah.
So, a guy named Todd Fisher, who later who's an awesome high school coach now. He was like the only kid around that was like touring,
Oh.
doing like freestyle wrestling
Yeah.
around the nation. He was a national champion and everything.
Wow.
So they had him come, and they were recruiting kids to start wrestling. So there was this like little camp thing that I went through, and just fell in love with wrestling, with
Wow.
grappling, and found out that I'd rather grapple.
So you're totally comfortable with grappling.
Yeah, well, plus in jiu-jitsu, we work the gi. There's
Yeah.
throws.
Gi.
Yeah.
There's I wouldn't say
No, hip
there's
throws, huh?
grappling into what we would consider grappling now. There wasn't that. The newaza or the groundwork with it. There was passing of a guard somewhat, because there's going to be a time where you end up at the feet of the opponent. So you're trying to get to a control position, such as a side control or a scarf or what we use or whatever. Not so much mount, what we're taught. But there was kind of a passing. There was a way of passing. There wasn't like a closed guard or anything like that. But collar chokes, a little bit different than what you would see in jiu-jitsu now.
Yeah, it's like judo influence.
Yeah, judo influence. So a little bit, the angles are different. A lot of the stuff standing up, I love throwing, but because I'm a wrestler, I'd rather throw without
Yeah.
a gi. So I do a lot of hip tosses, firemen's. I do a lot of firemen's and things like that. But yeah, so I got into wrestling, and then that's when I started meeting guys who were doing catch wrestling and sambo. When I moved to Hawaii and I started training, that's when I got into more wrestling, and then started going back and forth. And then that's when I really started connecting with, and then learning, meeting the Japanese wrestlers, and, learning the submissions, which would eventually,
Man, California
Yeah.
was such a hotbed
Yeah,
of,
bro.
of martial arts.
and at the time too, I moved to Hawaii in '93, and right before I moved to Hawaii in '93, I was training with Wally J for a little bit. And what happened at that time, which is, I think this was
Is
'91.
that small circle.
Yeah, small circle jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, small circle.
But anyway, yeah. So I moved over here in '93, and upon moving here.
So what brought you to? Is it Kona? You
Your
first
mom-
arrived.
No, I
Your
first
mom
moved to
moved here?
Hilo.
Hilo.
Yeah, so
okay.
Man, this
How'd you get
this
here?
could go long.
Let's go. Let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
Everybody
So-
wants to know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
okay.
Everybody
Get
wants
it
to
over
know.
So if you look in
We'll
the
never
back,
ask
if you look in
again.
the background, so
Yeah.
there's music stuff behind me, right?
Yeah.
So I've been a professional musician since very, very young.
Like
Yeah,
Bruno Mars.
record deal, no. if it was at that level, Joe Rogan would be
Oh,
across.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's right.
I had a record deal when I was younger.
Oh, what?
In the mainland.
Sick. You signed?
Just didn't. Yeah, I was fully signed.
Wow.
Everything had
Damn.
everything, man. I don't want to
What
go into
music
that. Maybe
style?
we'll do.
Kachi
Well,
Kachi? What
no, it was hip hop, R&B.
Whoa, what?
But it was at a time where there was no market for this.
Yeah.
There wasn't even white rappers yet.
See, no, not yet. No, I
Wow.
started being a white rapper. I think it was 94, 93,
No
94.
way.
Yeah, this is-
That's when I was.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
80s, man.
Yeah, it was because
Yeah.
Beastie Boys, they paved the way
Yeah,
for
yeah.
that a little bit.
Yeah, so when I was doing this, there wasn't
That's crazy. That's it. That's cool.
a somebody to gauge the market by,
Yeah.
so nobody would take the risks.
Yeah, oh, totally.
You know what I mean?
They didn't even have
Yeah, or
concerts.
I'd show up to like meetings at certain companies, and their the look is like, where's the dude on the tape?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I didn't look like this, mind you. Like me, like now I might have it might have worked how I look now.
Yeah,
but back then I had a fucking pompadour.
Oh, sick.
I mean, yeah, you know, I was.
You don't have a way we could show everybody, right? The little flash.
Yes, I do,
please.
I
know because I know you had a portfolio.
I do.
If you got
I have all that shit. I'll put that at the end.
Yeah, right
I don't
now
want to freak
right
anybody
here.
out. I show it now. People turn away from the podcast.
No, that's true.
But anyway,
Right.
sorry. I was going through a
I digress.
divorce. I was working for Safeway Corporation at the time. Ended up moving over here. They wanted me. Coincidentally, I wanted to leave the mainland. Things weren't going right with my record deal. I had something on the radio. It wasn't going well just because of no marketing. So I decided, man, I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna go back to the homeland. You know what I mean? So come here, work for Safeway, and then end up getting into music over here. And joining the band Ehukai, you know, from the song Molokai Slide, won Hoku Awards with them.
Wow.
And then from there, started learning about Hawaiian music, became a DJ over here.
Yeah.
And then kind of that's a whole nother story.
Bull
right?
ahead.
But
story.
So through my music career and through the DJing or the radio personality, I've always had fighting or wrestling somewhere here. So I would take a match here and there. I would take a fight here and there. Somebody would call me, could get me on a wrestling card, and it would be few and far between. It wasn't steady. Like maybe every quarter I would get to do something, and some of them would be cool, some of them would be stupid, some would be like wrestling in a gymnasium to 20 people. Some of it would be a bar fight.
When you were doing all the martial arts, did you have the intention of just learning the art, or you always knew you're gonna be a teacher somehow?
No,
or it was just
in the very beginning.
Yeah,
I was just scrappy.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Because you were by yourself.
That sounds like
just
Hawaii.
Pretty
Yeah,
much self-defense, right?
Yeah, and nothing to do at that time. You know, I had a girlfriend back then and whatnot, but you know, when you come from Bay Area, you know what it is.
Yep.
You come from the Bay Area and you move to Hilo, right?
mother.
Man, it's like
Yeah.
It's like
I came in
culture shock,
'94,
bro.
and I was down in Puna walking with a ghetto blaster playing all the bass
Bruh,
stuff.
first place I
And-
went to was in Puna.
Yeah, man, they spit me
Well,
out.
I don't know why.
Spit me out.
We get spit out
It was
and then we
easy.
go to Puna for some reason.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
testing
I had-
ground, bro. See if we
Well,
can
yeah,
hang.
if you
Puna
can do
thing.
that, man, because back then
You can make it to Puna. You ready for the city and Hilo.
Yeah,
Oh.
at least you. I mean,
Yeah,
you obviously blended in a little better. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It was a little
yeah.
tough.
But you know,
But
but
that's definitely how it is. I learned.
But so over
Ay,
here,
ay,
so anyway, I was doing back and forth things, doing pancration matches, doing full contact with.
So how did you get into the pancration? Like who contacted you, or did you enlist? Or
No, you with like people who just
in those
What is
times.
it?
Yeah, in those
these
times,
are early times.
like
What's
in
pancration?
so you know how like in these times
Oh,
where you just look on the internet, right?
Yeah.
So
no, never had.
so never had
There's no
internet.
internet.
So
Yeah.
we're just calling around and asking where get this, and then when you find out there's a tournament, you go. So there's no pay, there's no you know,
Wow.
can you do it? Do you want to do it just to get the
It was just all
just to
balls.
scrap.
All balls and
Illuminati.
honor.
Yeah, you know what I mean.
Which
You know
is
how like
honor.
when you remember
Telling you, bro.
when you hear like the Machados when you hear
Mm-hmm.
their story when they come, there's like, you know, there's no jiu-jitsu tournaments, so they're entering freaking wrestling tournaments.
Yeah,
and
whatever they can.
kind of the
Sambo,
same thing. It's
sambo
like frick,
judo.
Right.
I gotta hit somebody or throw somebody, so I gotta, you know what I mean. And I was
Yeah.
and I was picked on as a kid, and I wasn't tough till I was older. So once I got older and I got tough, I wanted to capitalize on that.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
shit, I could, you know what I mean. I could do damage now. So
Right.
you know, I was into being in a war of some sort. You know what I mean. So once I got over here, I started training in Kenpo / Kaju Kembo. We come from the Kaju Kembo line, but that's a whole nother story. But Kenpo, very big in Hawaii. Probably in the
Yeah.
earlier days of martial arts was really big in Hawaii. Before, you know, pre-MMA, it was Kenpo and kickboxing.
Yeah.
You know, you grew up doing judo over here. You know, a lot of kids go to Yano Hall when the kid
Yeah.
go train with
Boxing.
Uncle Charlie. You know,
Mhm.
which is like kind of a traditional thing almost. Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, you know, it's now back then. I would say everybody was training because they wanted to fight.
Yeah.
Whether they wanted to fight in the ring or, you know, so you had guys like Rudy Valentino who were scrappers and trained in Lua, Kaju Kembo, and kickboxing, but wanted to go into the sport aspect of it, you know. So I trained with, I black belted in Kenpo under the Abrigana brothers. And and later started training with a guy named Tony Liptak. Or actually, I trained with Tony Liptak first. He was with the Abrigana brothers, and he was a Muay Thai guy as well. And he was the one who connected me with the Abriganas. Stayed with them for about 6 years. Took me about 4 years, I think, to get my black belt. And then was immediately teaching right when I got black belt.
And this was Hilo.
Yeah, this was in Hilo. So, was that Wainaku? Right next to me. It's been a while. Right next to Dodo's Mortuary was my first school.
Oh,
It was my very first school.
That's cool.
But it's funny because, it was my first school, and I basically took over. Abriganas had a school there already, and I kind of took that over. So there was already a roster of about 30 kids already, 30, some adults and whatnot. So I took over that class, and in my class, I would always end with a lock.
Oh, nice.
Which was different, in Kenpo or those style of Kaju Kembo kind training, everything ends with a
strike and then
strike to the head, kick to the groin, finish him off, get out. Where mine was like, okay, do this, pop him in the neck, and then get him in the Kimura, get him down and pop his knee.
Nice.
And I always wanted, that was my niche in a sense, was doing that. So when guys would come train with me, guys who were looking for more of a grappling kind of thing were starting to come to me because there wasn't anybody yet. This is pre BJ, pre everybody in grappling over here. There was probably just Aikido guys, probably at that time, and judo guys and whatnot. And I would do it with no mats. So it'd be like, hey man, we roll. And the rolling back then would be wrestling.
What about lawns?
It would be like wrestling, but you get into kind of side control and start hitting. There wasn't...
Well, because it's on the street, so it's kind of like...
different kind of grappling.
Yeah, different.
And then that's when I was training at Rudy's one day.
No point system.
Yeah, no, just scrap. And it was... And what I regret about training like that was a lot of the injuries or the chronic shit that I have now is from that.
Yeah.
No, but nobody knew.
No, but a lot of people are like, oh, bro... why am I going to take jiu-jitsu? Look at you. I go, bro, the jiu-jitsu didn't do all this shit.
Yeah.
This is from freaking Kenpo and pro wrestling and fighting. It's had none of jiu-jitsu is the only thing keeping me still being able to work out.
Yeah.
Because I started teaching, and then that's when I got approached to start pro wrestling.
Oh.
Yeah, and I think the first person to approach me was my teacher, my Kenpo teacher, this guy, Jason Abrigana. And Jason Abrigana was known as the Hawaiian Kid. So for those of you who are big wrestling fans that know deep shit, not just what you see on WWE or whatever, that know deep shit, you'll know who the Hawaiian Kid is. WWF, he's been on a lot of dark matches, but he's been there a lot, jobber for a lot of names and whatnot. Worked with Jimmy Snuka, guys like that. But he was one of my Kenpo teachers. And he always tell me, oh, Rob, because of your wrestling background, you should get into, this. And I was like, and then that's when I met Don the Rock Morocco, the original Rock. And other guys around. And other guys started helping me along the way. And then I ended up getting asked to join...
Illuminati?
I wish.
I'm waiting for the Illuminati part.
This guy, Lenny Po'a. Lightning Lenny.
Lenny.
A Samoan guy, and I'll try to post some pictures up because then you remember, because he's been in a bunch of movies like Nemesis. Like if ever there was a movie filmed in Hawaii, he played some kind of bad guy or creature, just a big ass Samoan guy. And so he brought me into wrestling. I ended up going to his school. There was a charge for the school.
Where was the school?
But he said, what do they call it? Egg lots?
Oh.
Up in KL?
Mm-hmm.
Is that egg lots, right? Is that what they call them? Egg lots or farm lots? Or
farm lots, papaya farm lots.
Yeah, farm lots, I guess we got it. And his girlfriend at the time, God, I forget her name, but his girlfriend had a nice big property with pool table and shit. So they started a wrestling school. And at that time, wrestling was big. WWE was big. WCW was big.
I believe
so. So everybody was looking for new talent.
Hell yeah.
So schools everywhere were popping up because there was a chance, because wrestling was so big. here's your chance. Be a pro wrestler. You know what I mean? I just like going to the pro wrestling thing because I got to hit guys and get hit, and it was kind of fake, but it was kind of real.
Yeah.
So I didn't really get.
Yeah, that's what
I didn't get.
That's the catch wrestling.
I didn't have to worry about losing.
Yeah.
No, it had nothing to do with catch.
Oh.
No, this is the pro wrestling.
Oh, this is all pro wrestling.
Pro wrestling,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
So the pro wrestling is where it's not the wrestling business.
That was awesome.
You have guys that we call shooters.
Okay.
So in the wrestling business are guys that do pro wrestling because they like the acting part and all that shit and
Right.
stuff like that. But what they like to get off on is the athleticism of the wrestlers. People have no idea how that mat or the ring just beats the shit out of you, bro.
I always thought there were springs or something on
No,
the
bro.
big
There's
one like
usually
that.
there's like a I wouldn't say a pump, but there's like a big ass thing in the middle.
Yeah.
That it's a big ass piece of metal which has like a
Supposed to
I don't know, maybe
absorb
about
it?
like this big of a plate,
Right.
and that's the give of the ring. And maybe it gives like maybe like this much.
Jeez.
At least the rings that I've worked
Yeah.
on. And so that thing's in the middle, and then it's just metal bars,
Oh,
right, and wood, metal bars, and then freaking canvas stretched over it.
Right.
There's no fucking pad. It's just wood, and then there's canvas because that's what makes the noise.
Yeah.
So when you stomp, when you fit, there's noise. If you put pad, just there's not gonna be any noise, so there's no dramatics. Then you
Wow.
mic the stage and shit, to get all the dramatics and everything. But if you don't hit, if you don't bump on the middle, bro, the pain, bro, yeah.
Yeah.
But if you look like the WWE
adds up.
mat, like try watch them, they
That's
bounce, bro.
Oh, yeah. It
They
looks like
bounce. But
chung.
if you go to like a small promotion, they got no money for no ring like
I think
that.
they got
Yeah.
mics underneath it too, so that.
Oh yeah, the
when
ones
it- yeah, 'cause
that
it's
like
when they-
I don't think because they have to do what freaking how many 200 shows
Oh,
a year
yeah.
or something.
Easy.
So that mat I'm sure is a little bit or a lot more forgiving for the wrestlers. Where
Yeah.
Yeah.
going into the independent things, man, you got guys building shit. You know what I mean? Like I seen one show the other day where the guy had the bottom part of the mat was made of like street signs and shit welded together, like for the metal thing on there.
Oh.
You know what I mean? But yeah, just shit like that, bro. But so
I
when
thought
you're
he's
so
in
but
Micronesia or
but what
something,
I
or-
learned was
so
I
that
got to meet a lot of.
I'm just saying. He said stop signs. It was I didn't know. Sorry.
Chewy. So
It's like a garage sale.
Early.
but within the pro wrestling community, you will find a lot of catch wrestlers.
Catch wrestlers.
Yeah, that kind
What's
of
that? Yeah.
bounce back and forth.
Yeah.
So Japanese catch wrestling
Let's hear it.
is big as well. So that's where you have like a lot of the Americans going up to Japan, a lot of the Japanese guys coming over here, becoming stars, vice versa. You know what I mean? So
Define catch wrestling for me, because
catch wrestling is catch can.
Okay.
That is the actual. That is the actual name of the combat art. I wouldn't say I wouldn't consider it a martial art because it's more of a sport.
Sport.
Because it's competition right off the bat. It's a competition geared.
Wow.
It is painful competition and with the intent to
combat.
hurt, but it is combat and it is competition. It's not self-defense. You don't go to. I think I'm the only school that promotes like, hey, come learn to catch wrestle so you can defend yourself. I think I'm the only school
Yeah.
around that kind of promotes that.
Yeah.
you know?
Nobody knows. Though, so
But
it's okay.
catch wrestling has been around forever, bro.
Yeah.
Wow.
Forever, and even far back before America. I mean, there's Germans.
But it would just be under wrestling. That's why.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
a universal.
You know, t-
wrestling.
Kind of got left.
Yeah,
out.
catch
Got left
wrestling made more famous. Carl Gotch. My coach's coach Billy Robinson. I know
Yeah,
you know
name some
Billy
people.
Robinson.
Mhm. The Godfather.
Like Carl Gotch
You
was
said Barnett?
was like
Yeah,
to me
Barnett's
it was
one of
like
them.
the Helio Gracie of
Catch.
catch wrestling. He brought it to Japan and then created those legends over there. And then you have Billy Robinson, who's a lot young. The next generation. Billy Robinson, aside from teaching Americans like Josh Burnett, guys like that, he's famous for teaching Sakuraba.
Wow.
You know
That's
what I mean?
what they can
And
do.
so I come from the Snake Pit, so I'm the Hawaii representative for
Snake
Snake
Pit.
Pit.
Yeah.
And Snake Pit is Joel Bain, Sean Doherty, Bad News, and they all come from Billy Robinson. So a lot of the stuff that
Also for the catch wrestler, there was also Suzuki. Funaki,
Those
who
are
fought
those are the
Hickson.
guys that come from that Gotch line.
Yeah.
Gotch.
Yeah. And so that's where, you know, I'm not a historian.
Some of
on
them
that.
are still fighting, you know.
Oh yeah, bro. Yeah, and that's
think
what I'm talking about.
Suzuki-
Like in pro wrestling, you can go forever, bro. You can be like
Unreal.
Mankind is
Yeah,
over
that's
here
what- you
in
gotta
the
keep it on
mainland,
your
and
body.
you know, like Undertaker. You could be still working
Oh my
because
God.
it's
Mankind.
it's
he
worked.
does not look. Yeah.
What
Furley?
is Mankind,
Nick
like
Furley.
60? He must be
Yeah,
60.
Dude, Nick Furley
Nick
has
Foley?
to
Yeah?
be.
Has to be.
He's
So
amazing.
same with the
Yeah.
Japanese
He
guys, like
writes the stuff. And all that.
Inoki guys. I mean, you know,
Yeah,
they're
Antonio
and they're in
Inoki.
great shape, bro. Still yet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But if you look,
Surprised.
if you look at
Looks like shit otherwise.
a lot of the MMA guys that are successful that have come from catch wrestling would be like your Sakuraba. You know, there's Americans too. Eric Paulson, of course, legend.
Oh, Eric
Josh
Paulson.
Barnett.
I know Barnett,
Darren
yeah.
Till, kind of, because Darren Till comes from, I think,
Shoot.
Marco Huas, I think.
Yeah.
And Marco Huas is Luta Libre, which is Brazilian catch wrestling, is
Mhm.
basically what it is. So if you go through history, I'm not going to
Yeah.
go through the
No,
whole history,
no,
but
no,
you know,
but
catch
the
wrestling
difference, yeah.
of some sort has always been jiu-jitsu's nemesis from the
Yeah.
past.
Wow.
Helio's arch, you know, the guys that either
The-
beat him
the
or gave
no-gi
him the
guys.
most
Wow,
trouble. We're all
that's
catch
trip.
wrestlers, man. So
That's a
I
great story.
think
judo
there.
and judo
and judo, yeah,
judo
but the
guys.
catch wrestlers were the ones that, you know, were able to do any kind of damage to anybody. You know what I
Wow.
mean? But so I think now what's been happening is that with the explosion of no-gi jiu-jitsu, a lot of people are figuring out that, hey man, that's catch stuff.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? A lot of it, bro. Like there's a lot of leg locks that people are doing now that maybe the entry or the setup is slightly different, but shit, a lot of them I learned like in the 80s, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just that their setups are different, or now you're going into
Yeah.
50-50s and doing things like that where we weren't doing that back then, but the
It's like a
locks were the same.
It's like a systemized thing, like a trend.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like
Where it's being
Bravo.
put in a system where back then we didn't have a system. It was like
System.
there was ankle
Yeah.
locks, there was outside heel hooks, there there was knee
Mhm.
bars, but there wasn't a go to this to this to this to this,
Right.
then this to this to this. They didn't have that
Yeah,
back then.
it was just like I'm gonna do a leg lock and you're gonna tap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's where like when a lot of people that come to my school and they ask like, oh, what's the difference between like Japanese jiu-jitsu
Yeah.
and Brazilian jiu-jitsu, or what's the difference between catch
Right.
wrestling and Brazilian jiu-jitsu?
You know what's so hard
bro.
about that? Like back then, it's kind of like you would take it for what it is, but now everyone's general knowledge is off of what they see from the UFC and
Yeah,
MMA.
Yeah.
You know, like
I mean,
you watch
totally.
your Bellator and whatever.
They almost
pops-
forgot about Pride.
Ultimate
you know, I mean,
Fighter.
it's been.
Oh, Pride was
Oh,
awesome.
bro, to this day, if I'm on YouTube and a
Yeah.
pride thing shows up,
Yeah.
stop what I'm doing.
Isn't it a trip? And you've
Freak
seen it
out,
100
bro.
times,
Oh,
and
hell
it's
yeah, bro.
amazing.
Especially when
Everything.
you know what I loved about pride
They're so cool.
when they kick the down opponent in the head.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
Two
that's
box
the
guys,
shit.
yeah.
You didn't
But
quit.
yeah, back to catch wrestling, man.
Yeah,
like
back.
the catch wrestling has, I think, has made a resurfacing in the past couple of years because of
Brazilian
catch wrestlers
jiu-jitsu.
going like, hey man, we've been doing that shit for a long time.
They're claiming their
Like
stuff.
why you know what I mean? And that's kind of like why I decided to go get certified by the Snake Pit, because I was like, I was always a catch wrestler, but I didn't have a home.
Right.
You know what I mean? So you know, I needed a home, and the Snake Pit took me in and certified me and
Wow.
everything. You know, so it's kind of my duty now, or my kuleana, being part of the Snake Pit, to make sure that it's spread. At least in Hawaii, that's my kuleana. So I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu with Kahana Cordero, who's RMNU or Hobson Mora black belt. But at the time, we were Nova União. And I was kind of, at the time, remember I was saying, hey man, it was an era when like everybody on the island was Nova União.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you rolled with BJ or with Sharuto or Niza, you were Nova União. And if you didn't and you were at Kahana's or somebody else, we were still breakoffs of Nova União somehow.
Yeah.
You know, just from one of the different guys.
All like the purple belts and all that.
Yeah,
were,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
teaching
So
in
when I went
wherever they're
with
from.
when I joined with Kahana was I think a purple belt. I had the first time I had rolled in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was actually earlier, maybe in 94, 95, when I was teaching at Rudy's. I used to teach Rudy's kids class for him, and I saw a flyer, and it was Tom Callos. Tom Callos had just opened up West Coast Martial Arts, his Taekwondo school, but he had just started training with Helio in California. So he had a open mat thing. I don't know what we called it, but he called it back then. But he just said jiu-jitsu. I was like, oh, somebody's doing Brazilian jiu-jitsu. And I remember wanting to take it before.
Yeah.
So I went over there. He had like an open mat. There was like 5 or 6 of us, and I remember thinking I was gonna run everybody over, and he took my back, collar choked me a couple times, you know. And I honestly think back and go, man, that's when I should have started taking it seriously in training, but I didn't. So through the years, while BJ eventually opened up and I started the Shoot Hawaii Dojo and started getting fighters in and kind of incorporating guys that I was working with at Rudy's place, my thing back then was, I'm not going to do jiu-jitsu. I'm going to show everybody that it's precursor, which is Japanese jiu-jitsu, traditional jiu-jitsu, that and catch wrestling, which has been around forever, can handle. You know what I mean? And it can, you know, especially if you see in the no gi world. But in the gi world, absolutely not. So that's when I finally I had known Kahana for years, and I knew that he was trying to train in Brazilian jiu-jitsu as well, and you know, coming up with how he was doing his affiliations and whatnot. And that was the first time I had heard of that. I didn't know that you could not be a black belt in open school. Yeah, because if you're in a remote area where there's no black belt, you go learn. You know, I think was one of the first purple belts a few people started learning from was a guy Andre. When I forget his last name, but Andre was like the first guy in Kona at least. That was like the first purple belt around. You know what I mean? When there was no blue belts yet, nothing. So he was like the man.
I think John Kyle brought him down.
Yeah.
Brought him down for like a weekend seminar.
Yeah.
And I remember it was like, wow. I don't know if it was like $50 or $100, but I remember it was pretty up there because the guy's from Brazil. Yeah. And it was like an opportunity to learn, you know, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, the stuff that people were talking about UFC.
How old were you?
And that's
gosh, I was like maybe like 7th grade.
Wow. This is
super young. I was like the youngest.
This is like 99 2000, yeah.
I think.
Maybe 99 2000. I think that. Started with Kahana, and then the drive was just too much. You know, him being in Kohala and whatnot. But kept trying, and then eventually got my blue belt with him, and then told him, man, I can't come up anymore. And I already had my Shoot Hawaii Dojo school already. So he just said, oh, well, you know, why don't you just become an affiliate and you could teach as you go. Just teach up to what you know, basics, and go up and, you know, supplement what you don't have with your catch wrestling.
Was he okay with you combining both of the art?
Yeah, because that was, honestly, that was the only way that I could keep up with being a blue belt and everybody else. You know, like, why come to a blue belt? Oh, because he's a experienced catch wrestler and has a couple of black belts. So that's why come to me. You know, so it was kind of like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was kind of the bonus, but it was kind of understood that you're learning with me because I'm a blue belt instructor. So you're learning with me.
Oh, I see.
So at the time, there was a lot of guys that started with me because they started either wanting to fight or they started grappling, and there wasn't really any schools yet. And once we got involved with Kahana, a lot of them decided to just go with Kahana and start going out to just do jiu-jitsu and not train with me anymore. And then when I eventually closed down because of injuries, a lot of them went. So a lot of those guys today just got their blacks or their browns, but a lot of them way back in the day started in my catch school at Shoot Hawaii. So it's kind of cool because now that I'm back in the jiu-jitsu world now, it's kind of cool getting to roll with some of them every now and then, and they're like brown belt. Yeah. And I'm like purple belt, and I can hang, but they're still kicking my ass. You know, but it's cool.
It's cool. That's part of the journey.
Yeah, it's part of the journey. You know, and there was a couple of times where I was like, man, this sucks. you know what I mean? Like, if I didn't quit, I might be a black belt. And then I was like, wow, this is. But then I was like, man, this is really cool. Like, I'm rolling with, you know, guys that started with me. And I'm telling them how to, you know, side control. And teaching them how to, you know, footlock somebody. And now they're teaching me how to freaking berimbolo and shit like that. All right, another one in the books, man. Mahalo nui loa kākou for tuning in to Hawaii BJJ Lifestyle Show, JitzOphrenia. Please don't forget to subscribe, hit like, share, tell your friends, tell your peeps. If you are a jiu-jitsu practitioner, a grappler, a wrestler, and you want to get on the show, you want to promote your business or your gym, please hit us up. Thanks again to our amazing sponsors, Jeff Foster over at Foster Law Offices. They've devoted its practice to the representation of individuals and businesses, personal injury, civil litigation, and real estate legal services. A small firm dedicated to providing large firm experience to clients facing a wide range of legal issues. Located in Kainaliu, call them at 348-7800, 808-348-7800. Also to Brian over at Kona Grill House, located in Kaiwiko'o, for the most amazing poke bowls, smoked prime rib, and the grinds off of the grill. Famous from everything from their spicy girl poke bowls to lobster crab cake, but also for their amazing events. Make sure you keep them in mind for catering. Not only do they have amazing food packages, but they can also take care of your entertainment, your venues, your MCs, and the works. Call Brian at 323-3512 or hit him up at brian@konagrillhouse.com. That's Brian with a Y. To train with Jonny Varron, go check him out over at Penn Training and Fitness in Hilo. For Jaz Kaiwiko'o, check him out at Shoot Hawaii Dojo, aka Snake Pit USA, Hawaii, in Honolulu, Kona. Find Chewy the White Belt on Tinder. Peace, 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 peace.